Hello, guys. This is Jerry from Fight Commentary Breakdowns, and this is probably going on Fight Commentary Chats. Might go on Fight Commentary Grappling too, because we got a special guest. This is Vlad from Sambo Fusion and the Koulikov Grappling Academy. So, welcome, Vlad.
Thank you.
And Vlad, I think your story is so cool because you do Sambo, kind of Judo, Jujutsu. You do a hybrid fusion system.
Yes.
And let's talk about your journey. So, I assume you started training Sambo in Russia?
Yes. I got fortunate, and very lucky. My older cousin, he was 8 year senior. He would take me to train with his peers, and obviously I was eight, right? I was eight, so it turned into me just like getting piggyback rides on my cousin and watching big boys train, which completely enamored in me. I was so in such awe. And after a couple of sessions like this, he said, "You know what? There is a gym right next door to you, academy rather, right?" Which I did not know. And it just happened so that one of the biggest and most prestigious academies in the world, Sambo 70, was literally around the corner, a couple blocks away. And that's how I started training. Once I put my foot on that mat, I fell in love and never looked back.
So I think a lot of Americans have this almost like mythical perception of Sambo because we know of Sambo, we don't really know much of it, and then we of course know Khabib. So let's talk about the training method in Sambo. Are there belts? Is it kind of like, do you start out with drills and then you have sparring at the end? Tell me about it because I think a lot of audiences don't know exactly how people train Sambo.
Yeah. So believe it or not, Sambo is super close relative to old school judo. The judo with leg grabs and extended mat work. It's not the same, of course. It's a different animal in itself, but Sambo is way closer to judo, more so than jujutsu. It's basically an aggressive wrestling style with the jacket, where jujutsu is considered self-defense. So in self-defense, you presume you're weaker and smaller, and you have to pay patience and leverage game. Where in wrestling or Olympic-oriented like martial arts, you want to be higher, stronger, faster, or whatever, however the motto goes. So that's the main difference, so to speak, between, let's say, Jiu-Jitsu and Sambo. Sambo is like a more aggressive, more point-oriented. I mean, finish is always welcome too, but it's like come and get it as opposed to let the fight come to me. So very similar to Judo. As far as training methodologies, when I was a kid, we did a lot of conditioning, a lot of basic stuff, a lot of conditioning. It's kind of hard to dwell into like a training system, but over and above hard training, we did plenty of relaxation. We did sauna and stuff, and we played soccer once in a while, opposed to going to practice. And there was a lot of games as a warm up, just to keep it interesting. A lot of nagekomi. We did not call it nagekomi because we did not do judo, but like a lot of actual throwing. So sometimes like I argue with people that do judo all about uchikomis. And I'm like, I have not done a single uchikomi with a partner, and I still am a decent thrower. So there's like different ways of preparing, and science involved as well, periodization and a heart rate variability, things of that nature, diet. So it was fun training. It was hard training. We trained 6 days a week, three of which were two practices a day, and other 3 days were either night or day. And the attitude towards training in combat sports in Russia, at least back in the day, was never amateur and was never recreational. Like, for example, Johnny gets bullied or whatever, let's drop him in karate lessons and he'll defend himself. None of that was the case. Like, you were trained for only one purpose: to compete. Okay. And the more you compete and win, the more your coach gets paid. So like if you dick around or whatever, he's not going to be kissing your ass because you paid. It was free. So if you don't like it, you can get out. So it's very professional from the get-go. And the final question, as far as I remember, belts. No, there are no belts in Sambo. FIA's world governing body for Sambo tries to or try to implement belt system. It did not quite take on yet. So right now, the only way to get promoted as Sambo is to compete and win. And not just compete and win, it's compete and win tournaments of a certain degree. So the more you progress in the rank, the higher caliber of a tournament you must win. So your coach has no subjectivity and no hand into dealing with your ranking. It's only a phone competition, winning tournaments.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
It is. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I totally understand it's controversial. So, for example, like if you want Sambo to be massively popular, that modality is not going to fit, you know. But then if you make it massive popular with the belts, then you dilute it. So I don't know, man. I have no answers, you know. Like I'm just doing my thing, and I will refrain from judgment, at least for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I see both sides of it too, because very rarely do you hear of like a Sambo person that isn't formidable, right? There's no such
Yeah.
thing as a Sambo McDojo, a person who did Sambo who can't throw you or destroy you. But you
That
do hear of Jujutsu McDojos or Judo McDojos.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's popularity, man. The more popular it is, you know, just by game of numbers, just by default, the more you'll have good teachers, and the more you'll have bad teachers. You know, just, just like anything, you know,
Yeah.
like anything.
Which then kind of makes me ask this segue question, which is the people that you trained with, you went to Sambo school with, where did they end up? Did they all end up kind of professional Sambo people, or did some of them end up getting like day jobs and stuff like that?
Oh, of course, that's a good question. Half and half. I don't know precise statistics, but some people stuck with it, you know, and became coaches or competed late in their twilight years, so to speak. And some people just, you know, just use the lessons they received on the mat for the future endeavors, you know, for like perseverance, dealing with problems, solving problems, this kind of deal. That's the things you learn on a wrestling mat, regardless of your art. And this is something you can benefit. So yeah, I would imagine half and half. Like me, I made it my profession. You know, like I'm a professional martial artist, meaning I earn my living by doing martial arts. And some people, you know, not so much. Half and half. But you are right, though. I mean, of course, sambists lose to other sambists or to jujiteros, but nobody ever questions integrity and skill. So yes, you were right about that. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So let's talk about your journey. So eventually you came to America, right? When in your martial arts journey did you come to America?
Gotcha. So my most serious, you know, and legit pedigree I received in Sambo, right? And oh, about like when I was hitting like adolescent teenage years, I got big by Asian martial arts. You know, I mean, kicking people in the head is awesome. My first Bruce Lee movie blew my mind. Like, dude, my childhood psyche was not ready for that assault of Bruce Lee. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, so I did not realize what kind of resource I have at my hands. I thought, oh, Sambo is just wrestling, but Kung Fu is like punching and kicking fools in the head, man. That's so fucking awesome, right? And I kind of got led astray from grappling arts for about 5 years, believe it or not, you know. Luckily, the habit and the pedigree was there, but I did not develop as my peers. And then one time I came across UFC, right? One of the UFC 6, the one with the Oleg Taktarov, and I saw Russian Sambist wins, and I'm like, let me see what's up. And then like in my later teens, 17 and 19, my faith in Sambo was restored, because then I understood what kind of awesome combative system it could be in MMA, no holds barred match. It resparked my interest in grappling again. And moreover, it introduced me to a new grappling art, Jujutsu, because I saw it's kind of like Sambo with a little flavor. And I'm like, man, I love it. I love Hickson, Hanzo, and Hoist. Like, this is the Jujutsu I fell in love with. This is the Jujutsu that made me interested in the art, you know?
Bruce Lee movies and UFC. Usually it's both, right? For
Yeah,
me,
man.
it was Jet Li movies, and then seeing Kung Lee in UFC. Really,
Oh my
or
God.
back then it was in UFC Strike Force, seeing Kung Lee in Strike Force. And I was like, wow, okay, so I'm able to apply all this fancy Kung Fu stuff if I train it correctly. So
Do
it's
you know
funny.
that Kung Lee actually trained in Sambo as well?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, Greco, Roman, and Sambo. I think he might have, do not quote me, do not hold me. I think he might have been like even national champion or something like that in mid-90s.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm a huge fanboy of Kung Lee as well. I met the man or whatever. I met him in late 90s, 98, 99.
Wow.
Love his style. Absolutely like fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he does awesome kickboxing like Bruce Lee, and he throws people like a judoka or sambist would, man. I mean, you cannot go wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge,
Wow.
yeah, very exciting style. Great athlete.
Hmm.
And yeah, I saw him even before Strike Force. He fought like there's event often Pat Smith fought in that event. Like you did like full contact karate, some grappling, some
Oh,
MMA over the
yes.
course of a few rounds. It's eluding, escaping my head.
Hmm.
Some kind of Kai challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I
And
saw him fighting Sanda on both like a platform and the ring. You know,
yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, he's wow. Yeah, and I think this is the a good segue for when you started kind of hybridizing your style. Did you ever think about incorporating some of the striking too, or did you say it's just going to be grappling?
No. Like I'm a grappler, or I'm known as a grappler, but I can throw down. Like I'm not like a huge kickboxer or super experienced, but my fundamentals are good. I can teach boxing and kickboxing class and have people progress to like intermediate level. Yeah. Uh, so I think as a martial artist, you should be generalist. You should be able to wrestle, grapple, and strike. You know, but I'm still a specialist. Like I still specialize in grappling, and I was not like at first when I discovered jujutsu, I did not think about making like a unified system or whatever, just like another grappling art. And then over the course of the years, you see similarities, you see points of commonality and differences, and you know, unity over division. You always look for things that unite us opposed to divide us. You know, because so there's grappling, umbrella term, and then there's sports: Sambo, Judo, Greco Roman, Shuai whatever. So depending on what that region of geographical region sees valuable, that's what they build the rules about, right? So, for example, in Sambo Judo, we figured if we throw you, we can win the fight, right? And in Jujutsu, no, it does not win the fight. It only will be won on the ground. So it's a ground centrifugal, you know what I'm saying? And they both have merits, and neither one correct or incorrect. So once you kind of like figure out what's important for you and crystallize it in a rule set, it becomes a sport. Therefore, it loses some of its generality and becomes more specialized, you know? So I love both Sambo and Jujutsu, but both sports have plenty of limitations, but they're also not mutually exclusive. They're mutually complementary, you know? So I'm trying to find commonalities and find stuff that from Sambo will work in Jujutsu and vice versa. And also theoretically, if you train with me for 5 years, let's say, right, you should be able to compete in both arts, Jiu-Jitsu, Sambo, and Judo by default, you know, as an offspring of Sambo.
I think that's super neat because I've been to jiu-jitsu schools before where they try to incorporate throws and judo, and you can just tell it's like they're just kind of sort of half-ass adding,
Yes,
right?
that's a very good point. So listen, remember when Leglocks made a big spiral and came into Jiu-Jitsu game? That was not a big stretch because in order for instructors to introduce Leglocks, there's no special delivery system. It's just another piece of mat work. However, once you start introducing stand-up parts, it requires very heavy-duty warm-up. It requires ukemi, break falls. It requires special degree of athleticism. You know, like you have to be somewhat athletic. So it changes the whole paradigm and makes it difficult. You know, and and unfortunate thing, like for example in jiu-jitsu, that like I don't have to know any goddamn takedowns. I can just pull guard. So sometimes training in takedowns mismanages your time. You know, like let's say we're both getting ready for jiu-jitsu. You only get the ground prepared, and I get prepared 50% on the ground, 50% stand up. So I'm already worse than you in ground because it's only 50% of my training time. And once you pull guard, all my training, 50% of my training is useless. You know, so and also, moreover, you can teach a monkey to do single leg takedown, but before the takedown happens, there's so many precursors. There is a movement, right? A stance, you know, hand position, head position. There is movement. There is ability to tie up, to clear ties, to set up the throw, execute the throw, and follow through. So if I teach you single leg takedown without knowledge of all the prior things, it's completely useless. And it takes a lot of time to get the whole picture. The hands, you know, the head position, stance, movement, all that stuff. So that's why, you know, that's the difficulty in introducing stand-up tachiwaza techniques to Jujutsu. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunately it becomes either useless or not taught well because people miss precursors. Do I make any sense?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you make perfect sense. And I know a lot of jujitsu schools now, instead of instructors who are jujitsu people trying to learn the judo or whatever, they bring in specialized wrestling coaches or judo
Yeah.
coaches to teach a
Yeah.
special class because they
Yeah.
realize if they're being honest with their students, that's how you should do it. They can't pretend, oh yeah, I've learned a little judo. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
teach you all this. No, you need a wrestler or a judoka or a samboist to teach all the timing and all the precursors, like you said.
Yeah. Dude, I recently I watched a very merited black belt in jiu-jitsu. He shall remain nameless. And like very legit, great jiu-jitsu, very reputable. But then he was showing some kind of takedown, and my God, like it was so goddamn cringy, you know. And it happens left and right. And I used to be like getting upset about it, and I will be polite, but I will step up and say, "You're not doing it right." And it never ends well, you know. I get blocked by people, I get into arguments. So at this point, I'll go, fuck it. Like, you know, if you do it wrong, I'll do it right. I'll teach my students right. I don't care what you do. But unfortunately, it is a thing, man. Yeah, a lot of jujiteros or whatever get very superficial knowledge of takedowns and teach it, and
Yeah.
they do not understand how the game works. And that black belt clearly did not understand, like, you know, the stand-up grappling. He made like a slew of fundamental mistakes, and the execution looked all crappy and stuff, man. That makes me cringe.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another reason I wanted to feature you more. And I hope you blow up because you have
I hope
a
I do, man.
very holistic grappling system, and it's rare. It's really rare. And don't even get me started about when jiu-jitsu people who will remain anonymous go beyond the grappling to try to teach striking to their students. That
my
becomes
God.
an extra level of cringe. I can send you
Yeah.
some privately, but I will not name them publicly. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yes,
ugh.
please do send me.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
it, yeah.
Like one time I remember I even had to, I just made one comment. I just had to, but like, stop leading with your face. I literally say, lead with the jab. Don't lead with
Yeah,
your face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because again, I get it. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys are trying to bridge that gap between, like you said, before when people are standing too when it goes to the ground and they realize you can't just always pull guard, right? Maybe you need to take them down or use strikes or whatever. So I get that their intentions are good. It's just you don't understand striking. So you're teaching them bad habits striking wise to quote unquote try to get to the grappling.
Yeah, and I know it's not meant that way, but like in essence, it's dishonest, man. It takes a lot of balls and a lot of man or woman to be self-critical, to understand where your limits are, and don't bullshit your goddamn students. You know, like teach your expertise. And listen, you know, like I get people for seminars for my students, or special guest instructors for topics I don't know. I don't know everything, man. It's impossible, and I never am ashamed, you know, to admit it. If I don't know something, I will either study it and introduce to my students, or I will find a specialist and bring him for a special lesson or seminar or special practice.
So when you moved to America, were you always in the New York area, or did you move
Yeah.
around?
No. New Jersey, New York. Yes, I moved to New Jersey. Right now, I live in a bi-state area, New York, New Jersey. And if you travel a bit more, it's either Connecticut or Pennsylvania too. So it's a quattro-state area, I guess.
Wow.
So yeah, and I never lived like in Russian in the Russian communities. You know, there's a couple like pockets with Russian communities here, Brighton Beach, something in Fairfield or Fair Lawn, New Jersey. I just like submerged, man. I only with Americans. You know, that's why, you know, my command of English is somewhat okay, and my accent is not as heavy as other Russians because I submerged, man.
Yeah.
I did not move away from Russia to live in Russia replica. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're always in New York, and yeah.
When you started out teaching Sambo and teaching your grappling system, your students that you first got here, did they start out kind of confused, like, hey, what is Sambo? Or did they know what Sambo was and they came knowing that they wanted to learn a system from you?
Some of them half and half. Some of them, you know, some people get into martial arts without really knowing anything. And other times people are experienced, you know, in some art, and they know what they're searching. So it was roughly half and half. Some people had no clue, and other people knew Sambo from Judo because they did Judo or wrestling. So they did have a clue. Half and half.
I see. Okay, so let's talk about kind of your current operations. You have a school, the Koulikov Grappling Academy. Has it always been a grappling academy? So how long has your school been around?
I was married before. I'm remarried right now. My ex-wife and I we ran a gym called Ultimate Sambo for 12 years, from 98 to 2000 to Jesus Christ, 211. 99. So yeah, 12 years. Then for a few years I taught for different people until I woke up one day and figure out, you know what, like it's time to stop being a hired gun, time to do my own thing. And I opened a KGA a little bit over 3 years ago. It's in New Jersey. This location is about to be closed within a week, and I'm moving to Texas, keeping LLC, keeping the name. I just have a good opportunity, you know, good investment, and I'm moving and reopening KGA in McAllen, Texas. It's going to be big gym, 4,000 square feet, suspended mats, suspended floor, all 9 yards.
Wow, congrats. I have a very active Texas group on Instagram, so I'm gonna have to add you to it. Oh, they'll be so happy you're in Texas, man. Oh my God. I'm really excited that you're in Texas. Some of my coolest viewers, like I have a kickboxing viewer, and I got a bunch of other viewers that I would totally introduce you to. This is so cool. Tyler Castleman, who's a person that I covered back in the day. He's a 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu guy. So he's in Texas, and my buddy Mick's in Texas. He's a Dutch kickboxer. So this is gonna be good. Like we're gonna have a good community with you in Texas now. I'm really happy.
There's some good Sambo and Judo in Texas too, so I'm getting in the right zone.
Nice. Wow. So okay, so we're about to see kind of a new kind of starter, a new beginning for you, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. Wow. I guess another cool thing is something that we talked about when we first met, which is, did you kind of see the interest in Sambo go up when Khabib started becoming popular?
To be completely honest with you, not really, man. Maybe if the UFC one was won by a Sambist, things would be different. But I think the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu deservingly so has a strong hold, like on a grappling grassroots or whatever, you know. So at one point, I remember Andrei Arlovsky and Fedor Emelianenko were respective champions of UFC and Pride, and they both Sambists. So I thought, surely my gym will explode with new people. But it did not really happen.
Yeah.
It did not really happen. Sorry about that.
A lot of it's just timing, you know. So, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
But that's why we got YouTube now. We got the dojo. We got a bunch of other things. So hopefully, you know, hopefully we can start getting some of your stuff seen by more people. And you have a pretty good, pretty decent following on Instagram too. So yeah. Well, we'll get you there, man. I think it actually would be cool. Let's follow up in maybe 2 or 3 weeks. We could do another interview once you're at your Texas location, and we could like talk more and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is great. So this is a good little intro. For everyone watching, I'll probably intersperse some clips of Vlad teaching and stuff like that in this interview so you guys can see his cool system. And Vlad, we'll talk in a few weeks, and I'm going to add you to that group in Texas right now. So this is really cool.
Sounds good, brother.
Awesome. Guys, Vlad Koulikov from Sambo Fusion.